Hey guys, I wanted to do a short video today explaining what the 5 major problems are with your shoes. This includes all different kinds of shoes, most likely whatever you wear on a day-to-day basis. That could be for work, that could be for working out, that could be for running, casual, any different kind of shoe you wear. They're all going to share these same common issues because it's really a shoe manufacturing issue that we're dealing with here that creates these issues. So the first one is that the heel is always going to be elevated. So that's going to be anywhere from 4 to 8 millimeters typically. And when we talk about that, hopefully you can see this well enough, is that it basically means that on the outside of the shoe you may not be able to notice, but on the inside of the shoe, the heel platform is actually anywhere from 4 to 8 millimeters higher than where the ball of the foot is going to sit. And that is problematic because if you think about it, basically means that your heels are up all day long, every day, which is what is going to shorten your Achilles tendon muscle, and it's going to end up shortening your calf muscles too. And it's going to create a lot of problems down the road for you. So that's the first one, which is heel elevation. The second one is that the sole is too thick and too stiff. So again, another problem with the sole is that it's too thick in that it creates too much distance from you and the ground that you're standing on. There should not be as much cushioning as there is between you and the ground, because really what you want to be doing is feeling the ground and actually being able to generate force from the ground with your foot. But with shoes like these, which are a conventional pair that I just picked up, they basically block that ground feedback you can get and that force generation you can get. They're also too stiff, so they don't, when you're trying to walk or when you're trying to run, these are actually so worn out that they bend quite a bit. But an average shoe really won't bend that much. You can see how it's actually just coming apart because it's so old. But, the difference between a shoe like this and then a shoe like this, which is the Hana from Zero, is that this shoe, even though it's pretty new, can basically bend in half. I can fold it up into a ball. It's really good for packing into a tight space if need be. And it can bend any which way, because we know that our feet don't just bend like this. They actually bend like this. And what do you know? It doesn't bend that way. But a pair of minimalist shoes like the other pair there, those do bend downward, which is what our foot does and what our foot needs. So that's our second point. Third point is that they're too heavy. The shoe as a whole is too heavy, and I mean that is going to mean it's going to be mainly the sole, because like we were talking about, it's mostly this cushioning. Like most of the weight on this shoe is all at the bottom, and this is no good because you don't want to be wearing shoes that are heavy, because why would you want to create more work for your joints and your muscles to do in any activity, really? Especially athletic, but you want your shoes to be as light as possible because you basically are just trying to let your feet be feet. You're not trying to do anything spectacular here. You're just trying to allow the feet to do what they need to do, and you're trying to give the illusion of essentially not wearing shoes to maintain healthy feet and muscle function. A funny little story is that I used to run track in middle school very casually, and I remember for one season I wore my basketball shoes as a track runner because I just loved those shoes so much. They were the coolest things I'd ever worn, and they were so heavy that they visibly slowed me down. And one day I actually had to go and weigh them on a scale because they felt so ridiculous. They literally were, each shoe was 2.5 pounds each. So a total of 5 pounds I was wearing on my feet, if you can even believe that. And that was in middle school. Even I was amazed at that at the time. And they were, they were big, high top basketball shoes, and they were really cool. But shoes like these weigh, same size shoe, weigh about a pound total, something like 8 to 10 ounces on each shoe, I would estimate. I haven't checked it in a little while, but 5 pounds to, let's just say, to be safe, 1 to 2 pounds. I think that's a pretty good trade up there. So the fourth point I want to talk about, and this is possibly the biggest point to make here, one of the most important if you ask me, other than the heel being elevated, is that the toe box in conventional shoes is too narrow. Like, no debate about it, they're too narrow. Whose foot is born like this? When you were born, your feet are actually widest at the end. I can just show you my foot. They're actually widest at the ends of the toes. You want the shoe to maintain its width out here. You don't want it to come to a point. Why would I want that? I want my toes to be wide, and I want them to be able to actually gain strength from gripping the ground and generating force. That's all the toes have to do, and they'll be strong. It's like I was saying, you let the feet be feet, same thing. You let the toes be toes. They're going to do what they need to do. Your job is just to not impede what they're trying to do. So anyway, you got a bullet-shaped shoe where your toes are going to all get squished together, and then you could probably see on my foot, it would be the same on your foot, I'd imagine, and most people's feet who've worn shoes their whole life, is that your toes just end up getting kind of stuck like that, and you need to retrain them to spread out. And then, you compare that bullet-shaped shoe against a shoe like this, albeit maybe not the best, but it's a significant improvement. You might be able to see that the widest part of the shoe is here and here. And where does that correlate to on the foot? That would be the ends of the metatarsal bones, the big toe joints. Right there and there, which is, just about what you want. It's not completely perfect, but it is a major step up from what most shoes are like today. And that toe box being too narrow causes a ton of problems. I would say that most of the injuries I've had to my feet and most of the sources of pain have stemmed from, or at least the toe box being narrow has been highly involved in that process. So I think that one's a very big deal. The last one here, point number 5, is that the toes are lifted up. This is called toe spring in the shoes, and to be honest, it's somewhat of a mystery why shoe manufacturers do this. I would hypothesize that they think that, when you land, they want you to land heel first, which is terrible. Land heel first, and then you kind of roll into that stride like this. And that's why the toes are lifted up slightly. It's not super visible, but there is toe spring in just about every shoe. If you put the heel down, you can definitely see it. But basically, I'll show you again, just like the heel. So we have the heel elevation that has us like this, and then we have the toe spring, which has us like this. Well, since when do your toes sit in a resting position like that? I mean, if you're standing, that's definitely not how you stand. And then what it ends up doing is I learned this recently, it ends up tightening the muscles on the top of the foot. They're called the toe extensor muscles. And like we talked about, the heel elevation gives you problems up the Achilles and the calf muscles, back of the leg. The front of the leg gets affected by the toe spring, which is great, right? Now you have tightness on both sides of the leg, so it seems like, never ending. So you get the tight muscles on the top of the foot, the toe extensors, and those run up and they connect to muscles through the ankle and then into the shin. So now you have tight muscles on the front of your leg as well. And all the while you're losing ankle range of motion, another huge contributor to injuries and lack of range of motion throughout the rest of the legs. So, then you get the tightness up there. That's also caused me problems. That will actually end up giving you Achilles tendonitis, which I've had, I would say, a couple little flare-ups of now. Nothing terribly serious, but it's stuff that you have to work on when it pops up. But anyway, without getting off on a tangent, those are the 5 major problems with shoes. There arguably, you could say there are more. You could say that some are more important than others. Like I said, I think the heel being elevated and the toe box being too narrow are very harmful. You should try to avoid those as much as you can. The shoes that I have here, these are actually mine, what I wear basically every day. These are the Hanas from Zero Shoes. If you read my stuff, you will probably hear me mention them quite often. But, these aren't completely perfect either, but they are a major step up from what I have been wearing all my life, which is Nike, Adidas, New Balance type of shoes, just the common brands. And those were harmful to my feet. No matter how they're marketed, they're not really built for your feet. They make your feet adapt to the shoe, when really, your shoes should adapt to you. You have your foot, you need your foot to be healthy. You figure out what the shoe needs to do for you, right? So it's made out to be backwards. But so anyway, with shoes like these, minimalist footwear in general, which is what these are, they basically eliminate just about all of these. And if they don't eliminate them, they at least improve on them. So like I said, no heel elevation. Sole is not thick, it's very thin, and it's not stiff. It's very mobile. Heavy, no, it's very lightweight. Toe box, as we showed, is pretty wide. And the toes, although I can see a tiny bit of toe spring in here, it's still an improvement for what I have been wearing. So toe spring is mostly eliminated as well. It's pretty hard to find shoes that don't have toe spring, actually. They get very expensive. But anyway, those are the 5 major problems with your shoes. I showed you a better example of what you want to look for and a couple reasons why. I'll definitely keep talking about this kind of stuff. I have learned quite a bit about it, and it's very interesting to me. And once you start fixing these things for yourself, you start wearing better shoes and you start living your life in better shoes, you start to notice that problems go away, or you start to learn how you can fix problems, or even why you had them in the first place. And now you can figure out, well, why are my calves so tight? What can I do about that? So anyway, if you read my stuff, you know about a lot of this already. If you don't, now you know. I'll have some articles posted in the description below, so check those out. They will be related to this topic, and they will be expanding on them, as I always do in my writing. And other than that, that is all I've got for today. I will talk to you again soon. See you next time.